Hello and welcome to the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views. I'm Diane Sawyer, your host, President and CEO of the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce. Today's guest I have with us Jacquelyn Sharpe, founder of Sunlight Wellness. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, ma'am. I am excited to have you because you are new to our area and I want to introduce you to the whole world and let them know about how fabulous you are.
Well, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here and I love talking about Chinese medicine.
So that is what your Sunlight Wellness is.
Yes.
Chinese medicine, and it's a clinic for that.
Yep.
And you are both a licensed
acupuncturist and massage therapist.
Which is awesome. Two of my favorite things.
Yes.
Tell people a little bit about what that really means, because a lot of times I think people, especially the acupuncture part, I feel like people kind of shy away from it because they're not sure what it is. So tell us all about it.
Right. The most common thing I get is, I'm terrified of needles. And it's very understandable because most people's experience with needles, their experience is like going to the doctor and getting shots. And those are hypodermic needles that are hollow and stiff, where we typically refer to them even as pins because they're so small. They're maybe a little bit thicker than a strand of hair, and then they're flexible. So when you put them in, sometimes you feel them depending on, so as we get closer to the bottoms of the hands and the bottoms of the feet and sometimes the ears, those areas are more sensitive because there are more sensory nerves there. But there are other places on the body you can put them in, you don't feel them hardly at all. So oftentimes when people come in with being nervous or shy to the pins, once they experience them, they have a very different experience than they have in the past going to the doctor.
It blows my mind how they work and the energy that comes from that experience and how it can change your life literally. And I know that people come for acupuncture for multitudes of health benefits. Let's talk about maybe the top three that you see, or the
pain. That's a big one. Pain, joint pain, sinus issues, inflammation in the body. What else? I mean, it's oftentimes because acupuncture is something that hasn't been introduced into our culture and a lot of people are really familiar with. Oftentimes people find it as kind of a last resort. Unless you just naturally feel drawn to looking for alternative ways, maybe more holistic ways of treating your body. Oftentimes it's a last resort. Basically the medicine blows me away all the time as well. Like I know that it works, but because these are energetic tendencies, we can't guarantee it's going to be the same thing for someone every single time. So, when someone presents you with an issue and you start to treat it, then it's a matter of, well, let's see how much of the medicine the body kind of takes and how much it runs with it. So sometimes the results are, they are sleeping better and it's subtle, and sometimes it is breakdown, crying afterwards because this person hasn't had relief from their pain in 30 years. It can be a giant range of how much it affects the person's life.
So I think that you have explained that to me before, and I know that you have had different folks that you were able to work with who did have like life-changing, altering. I know that you said you've had folks who had weight loss because of how the body changes and reacts, and obviously they're probably subconsciously doing things, in their mind to hurt themselves. And if they found you and they're trying to do things to help themselves, I think you help set them on a path. Like you alter
That's a good way to put it.
The path that they are trying to take for themselves.
Yes, it's kind of like turning the wheel just a little bit. And that's so subtle. But, in a mile, you're on a completely different path.
That's right. It's funny that you say that. I just said that to my husband not that long ago. We left from the same point and drove in opposite directions. And he was like, oh, I'm at so-and-so. And I was like, I'm already at home. Like, it's crazy how far away from each other we are. And so that's such a good analogy, because with your health, I think people expect to see such immediate results, but they have to remember, we're not driving as fast as a car, we're walking. And so like when you set off walking at that distance, like you said, in a mile, you've kind of altered your course, but you're really looking for that long distance like result, the one that will come later. And so some people see it in a couple of days, depending on how bad they were being to themselves and to their bodies and to their health. And then some people who were kind of like on an average path anyways, it takes them a lot longer to see those changes. And so I think with what you do, it makes such a difference, because the key word was relief from pain. Because a lot of times people who are in pain can't see anything else and can't do anything else. And if you can alter that course for them, even just a little, it opens up a whole new world for them.
Yeah, it's profound in how, so every single pen that we use treats the physical body, but there's also an emotional component that goes with it and a psychological component that goes with it. So, for instance, I'll take the kidneys, for instance. In Chinese medicine, the kidneys are part of what we call the water phase. And so this is where you immediately typically start to lose people, because they go, what does an element have to do with any of this? But water is in the air. It's what composes the majority of our body, and it's profound and super important for all living things on Earth. So this is symbolic. It is water, but it's also the symbol of liquid that nourishes, and everything is dependent on that. So you have to, because the Chinese are so poetic in nature, everything is symbolic. So the kidneys are and the bladder and all of these things are lumped into what we call the water phase. So the water phase is the kidneys, the bladders, all the hair on the body. It's associated with the ears. There's a giant list of things that the same energy that's responsible for creating your kidneys in the first place is also responsible for maintaining and nourishing. So on a mentational level, the water phase is also associated with a person's will and desire. So what happens when a person is in such bad health that they don't have the will anymore to keep going?
Yep, which is exactly
That's crucial.
It's crucial.
So when we treat the kidneys with one pen, we're not just treating the kidneys, we're treating the kidneys, the bladder, the bone, the ability to manufacture bone marrow, which then turns into manufacturing blood, all the way up to this mentational quality of the person's will or desire. We want to strengthen that. So when a person comes in, we rarely treat one phase, and because these phases are all linked together, this is where I actually should have brought a chart for you today, because I could show you how in the chart that we typically use, there's what we call a progressive cycle. So you've got wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. So the wood phase is responsible for fueling fire. And fire nourishes earth. Earth creates metal, metal holds water, and then water nourishes wood. So this is what we call the creation cycle, and how one phase is responsible for the next phase. But then we also have what we call a control cycle, where they skip each other to help bring harmony to the body. So if I were to skip every other one, let me see if I can do this without in my mind. So you have wood, fire, earth. So you've got wood moves or holds earth. Earth absorbs or holds water. Water extinguishes fire. And then fire forges metal. And then metal chops wood.
Pretty awesome.
It's amazing.
Awesome.
And so
it really
all of this came from basically just observing nature, and they saw these patterns happening, and then they saw these patterns happening everywhere throughout all of life, and then started actually noticing them within the body as well. It's incredible when somebody comes in and they don't know anything about Chinese medicine, and I can put pins in and they can start telling me and echoing back to me what their experience is exactly what a person should be experiencing according to the books.
It's amazing. It is really cool.
It sounds woo-woo, but it does. It sounds wild, but it just encompasses everything. And the biggest thing is that it doesn't remove a person from their environment. And that's really crucial in the sense that currently healthcare wants to separate as much as it can to isolate what is the problem. And that's, you can learn a lot that way. But if you don't look at the environment that surrounds the problem, do you ever really treat the source of the problem?
So tell me how being both a massage therapist and an acupuncturist, how does that work together? Because I feel like sometimes people would say, oh, A, how do you have time to do both of those? And B, how do they work together?
Well, sometimes treatments run really long. I'm not going to lie. I totally lose track of time sometimes when somebody comes in and they're having an issue. There's not this set formula that I'm going to treat everybody the same way. I'm going to treat and meet them where they are that day. And based on how much time they have, I'm going to try to accomplish as much as I can in that session. So as far as massage and acupuncture working together, it's great because a lot of times when you start to work on the body, it can be very helpful to kind of open it up physically before we use the pins. So when I use an acupuncture pin, I'm taking a metal object, I'm slicing through all of your layers before I get to your skin. That means like the energetic layers that surround your body. And then once I penetrate the skin and further, then now I'm actually penetrating your physical body as well. Now, metal carries vibration. So with that, it's like free energy that surrounds us is going to be coming in, and then the excessive built up energy that's your muscles have been holding is going to like release. So it's like letting a little too much that's inside out, and if it's a little too empty on the inside, we're pulling more in. So that's how it's dynamic. But sometimes someone's muscle, they've been carrying so much tension, it can be really helpful to kind of get the sinews to relax even more.
What? Are you telling me that all this muscle tension I carry around in my neck, like it's useful to get rid of it? What?
Kind of a big deal. When you are tight, you know, it cuts, circulation doesn't go like it should. Things don't circulate like they need to, which means nourishment doesn't flow like it needs to, which also means, you know, our bodies are designed so that, you know, you have muscles on one side that help contract your joints one way, and then you have muscles on the other side that can help contract your joints the other way. So if you have one side that's tighter than the other, then over time, this is going to pull your joints out of place, and now your joints are going to wear in a way that I would say is inappropriate. And so to me, this is why a lot of times people are having joint issues, is one of the many reasons is because their physical body is not in alignment because both sides of their muscle tension is not even. Muscles have memory. They have like one job, to tighten. When they're not tightened, they should be relaxed.
So we could probably talk for days, you and I,
Yeah.
about these things. If people would like to learn more about this specific thing or this piece, where can they find you?
They can give me a call. My phone number is 828-773-4441.
And you just came to town, so you're new to town, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And you've opened a shop. You want to tell us where that's located?
1422 Freeway Drive.
Okay. So we're pretty excited about having you. And you have another love that I think we want to talk about. So let's talk about that.
Oh, my whole life. So my medicine when I was a kid was horses. And so I fell in love with, specifically, I got introduced to Arabian horses when I was 9 years old. And because of, I was always in love with horses, but the personality and the intellect and the sensitivity, which makes them so easy to work with, they just stole my heart. And so I had the ability to work with a lot of other breeds, and I think other people should do this because as the cost of living goes up and the cost of land, unfortunately, it's obvious to me that as time progresses that we're going to have, it's going to be harder and harder for children and really just people in general to be able to interact and enjoy horses. So at the end of 2020, I was able to get a nonprofit going called Arabian Gift. And so our mission is to help bring these beautiful horses to the public in whatever capacity people want to see them. So at the first year, we focused mainly on film work and trying to do some really beautiful, capture these horses for all their beauty. So we had this incredible horse that came into our life when my son was 2 years old, and he has been just the perfect horse, not just for us, but it's one of the reasons why I've felt so drawn to share him, because he is like the epitome of what you would want in a horse. He has personality, he has beauty, he has very, very charming. I mean, you can ask him questions and he'll answer. So it's easy for people to fall in love with him. He's a wonderful mascot for the breed.
That's awesome. And I know that that's one of the things that it's one of your passions. So I'm thankful for you to be able to share that with us.
I'm thankful to be able to help get people closer to them. It's really hard when you're a child and you just want to ride so bad and it's too expensive or you don't have anybody around to help you do it. That's what this organization is for.
Wonderful. So did they just call you directly?
Yep, they can go to our website. It's arabiangift.org, and our contact is on there. And you can also see some of the beautiful horses that we've been able to capture so far.
So we're running out of time, getting kind of short on time, and we've talked about the two main things that I really wanted you to discuss today. Is there anything else about what you do or your experience in Reidsville so far, anything that you would want to share with us?
My experience here has been lovely. The people have been so kind and very welcoming. And I'm really happy to be able to be here and serve because I don't know who's watching, and maybe they have the ability to help bring this into fruition. But it is my goal to have a community clinic. Just like horses can be expensive, a lot of people feel like alternative treatments for healthcare can also be expensive because insurance oftentimes doesn't cover that. So if at some point I'm able to have a community style clinic, then I would be able to treat a lot of people at one time where they still feel comfortable and have the space to process their treatments and charge less than what most people have to pay right now.
Yeah, you have such a servant's heart, and that's the first thing that I think my whole staff learned about you immediately, and we were all very drawn to you. I think at least 3 of us have come to see you already on an individual level. So very thankful.
I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, very grateful.
It's an honor to be able to work on people. People come in and not only are they sharing, the things that they're struggling with in their life, but sometimes pain that they've been carrying for a long time. And not all of us are surrounded with a support group that can help us process what we're going through.
Yeah, I had a very interesting experience. Mine was, and obviously I knew that you wouldn't put that out there, but the emotional, I think, experience that came was just as helpful as anything else that I experienced while I was there. So I would highly recommend it to anybody. Jacquelyn is wonderful, and the services that you provide to folks in this community I just can't wait to see what happens and what you are able to do, because I love the ideas that you have and the things that you have expressed to Denise. And, for a lot of people who don't know the chamber, Denise Brady is our membership director. And so when someone joins, they spend a lot of time with her. And then Denise is able to share bits and pieces along the way with us. So we all have a different experience getting to know our new members and the members in our community. Because the chamber is founded on relationships, and that's what the whole thing is about, and us being able to support one another and help one another. And I always feel for the folks that are new to town, because I want to be sure that they get connected to the right things, because sometimes people aren't sure where to start or who to meet. But I think you and I are both believers in things happen for a reason.
Yep.
And
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing, and meet people along the path. And so I think it's just wonderful. And do you want to tell them anything else about anything we've talked about? Acupuncture, massage, anything? Just maybe that little piece to get them over the hump if they're wondering about it.
I was initially introduced to raw food when I was 17 years old. And so that was the first time I was exposed to clean fuel in means a better oiled machine. And from there, it was then yoga, and then it was massage, and it's always been art, and then it was acupuncture. And so to me, medicine can come in a lot of different forms. And so if you feel, I guess that would be my message, if you feel drawn to something as an expression, then those chances are it is medicine for you. And acupuncture and massage and yoga can all be these avenues that help bring you back to you. And that's so important when you are deciding what your next steps are going to be.
Agreed. Because we all find paths in life that we come to the fork in the road and we're not sure which way to go. And I find that people are probably going to come across people like you, businesses like you, practices like you, where they go, oh, this is going to help me make a decision. So
yeah. And then you come to me, I'm going to take that needle and point it right back to you. You know.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of our show and sharing just a little bit of your knowledge and the things that you do. So if people wanted to get in touch with you or find you, tell us one more time where to find you and your contact info.
My website is sunlightwellnessnc.com. My phone number is 828-773-4441. And my address is 1422 Freeway Drive.
And you were located in the Arts and Frames building that a lot of people would know where that was if we say that. So we'll just add that.
It's such a cool building.
It is a cool building. So, yes, that is where people can find you. And the access is actually on the Front Street side.
Thank you.
Yes, that's okay. That's somebody, just having been around, I realize that that's a thing. So, okay, folks, that is it for this edition of the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views Show. As always, you can find us in downtown Reidsville at 140 South Scale Street, and our website is www.reidsvillechamber.org, and you can find us on any of our social media channels. Stay tuned for the next episode, and we'll see you real soon.